Alright guys, we're off to Alicante today. It's going to be a fairly long video because now I've clicked here. I'm not going to let it disrupt me from driving. Losing the keys under the seat may do though. We're now heading away. I don't know if this will work, whether it will vibrate itself off the window. Let's see. As you can hear, the diesel filter's going. I've got the smoke in there. Oh. One of the neighbours again turned around. He was looking at me when I was just talking, but then I looked round, he looked away, so he probably thought I was ignoring him. So yeah, it's about a 30-minute drive. It's currently 28 degrees here. I've put my sunglasses in my suitcase, so I can't actually put my sunglasses on. But to be fair, we're going through the security. I thought I'd make it as easy as possible. And this time round, the car's going up to eco parking up at near the airport. Costs €250 for the year, but if you know the airport transfers, they're 50 to 60 euros a time. So it doesn't really take too much to actually make it worthwhile leaving your car there, especially when you've got a lovely heap of junk like this one, where it's got to the point now I'm not too fussed on it. It's a wreck when I bought it and become a bigger wreck over time, even after spending money on it. Will be getting changed at some point once the house is done, but it's not top of the list, that's for sure. So you have to look left there because cyclists come up there, even though it's a one-way street and they're coming the wrong way. I do see a lot of the things on the N332 with drivers winching. Well, here we go. Securitas decided to hit me head on. Yeah, they complain about cyclists, but to be fair, I find here there's a lot of bad driving and what have you. When I say what have you, it's like literally everybody's doing something and they're all whinging at somebody else doing something else. It's like scooters, you know, people complain about the scooters. I think it's a good thing. I think there needs to be more education for people on how to use the scooters. Oh god, he was in somebody's house. Because a lot of them aren't aware which ones you need to wear a helmet for. Do you need lights on them? Some of them need an ITV. I do think there should be more emphasis on the guys who are actually selling them to make them responsible for actually making sure you get the right information. I think, well, that's a bit much. Well, when you buy a new car, you've got to get it with number plates on it, unless you're going to race the thing. I think even then you've got to demonstrate what you're going to be doing with it. They don't just give you one. And the thing is, a scooter's more of a vehicle than a toy. So don't get me wrong, I know cyclists are another thing you'll see on N332, people whinging about them as well. And I do get it when you get people like six wide and whatever just potting around on a Sunday in the Lycra. But you get the same in the UK. Myself, not too fussed on it. I think a lot of people have got time to moan about things. Myself, I'm trying to move away from that. That's all I can say. Is just realise everybody's doing something that's winding somebody else up. So either be more appreciative of what you do to others, or just accept it's the way it is. I mean, myself, I've sort of accepted people go the wrong way with a bike up a one-way street. I accept people off on the wrong side of the road, forget to put the lights on, drive very slowly, all sorts of stuff, but it's just the nature of the beast. Don't worry about it. Certainly don't let it annoy me. Got far better things to annoy myself about. But anyway, that's off that. But if you're not aware of N332, it's a useful group for legislation, law, and some of the news stories, because it's like they were doing an update on the volcano eruption. Was that last? I think it was last week. And they were doing some updates on that, and I find the group very useful. Just driving very slow. Okay. like there, somebody just drove very slow because somebody's on the wrong side of the road as they're turning, but I'm not worried about them. The concern is when people come from the outside on this side, in case I'm sort of slightly over because I'm going round him, because he's going slow because somebody else is in his way, so it's sort of knock-on effect. But myself, what's that? Just part of life here. Strange to think, I think we're now 6 years in here in this area. And some people, I've seen some of the comments from Americans about, oh, it looks boring there, blah blah blah. I've lived in Asia, I've lived in the Middle East, lived all over Europe, lived all over the UK. Here is home for us because it's a central hub. The access here is very good, so like once I get to the airport, I'm 40 minutes to an international airport. It's a reasonable cost of living. Infrastructure is very good. You can get 1 gig internet here, reasonably priced. People do complain about the electric and water bills, but like our house, we just put the solar electric on. Solar water on. The next will be the solar electric. So our bill costs will be virtually cost of living and the annual tax. And then when you take into account the cost of bins and stuff, it's virtually nothing compared to what you pay in the UK. So I've got nothing really to grumble about here. It's like some people say, oh, I couldn't living on the coast, my worst nightmare. Living in the middle of nowhere is my worst nightmare. I've done it. I've been out in the boondocks. I've done it out in Asia, where it's proper out in the middle of nowhere. And I've done it in the UK, where everybody knows your business and nosy, and you're in an area with overpriced houses and just not for me. Don't get me wrong, if that's for you, that's for you. But there's always going to be criticism regardless of where you live, because not everything fits everybody's lifestyle. It's like, I know my wife would find if my wife was in the UK full time, it would be an issue because of the temperature there. Because this is my wife's sort of temperature, in the mid-20s. I mean, she's quite happy at 34 degrees, which is a bit way over the top for me. But when you've been out in the tropics, and my wife's from the tropics, it's normal. I mean, I found the desert's alright. The deserts are up to, I think some days were 50, 60 degrees. But because it's dry heat, you don't seem to sweat. So everybody has their own version of what they want in life, and I think the key to everything is actually being content with what you want in life. For me, I'm in my 40s, just about finished my home here in Spain. We'll finish the renovations over the next 3 months, I think, fingers crossed. Hammer the mortgage, and then we'll be on to the next house, which will become a rental property. Ultimately, this is our home, this is our life. A lot of people have mentioned about the negative effects of Brexit, but in all honesty, I think everything's a workaround. You've got to bear in mind, we've dealt with international immigration issues. Because my wife is from the Philippines, my kids have got Filipino passports. It was a far more difficult dealing with that type of situation than the UK and Spain relationships, I tell you. But we'll say the Spanish government are far more welcoming than I find with the UK government, and even a previous employer. So yeah, I mean, there is that aspect that I do find Spain more welcoming from my own experiences. Now, don't get me wrong, I know some people have experienced racism in various parts of the world, and they may have experienced it here in Spain, but I would hazard a guess it's probably more likely in city developments. But here on the coast, not really seeing it. If anything, I find that people are generally friendly. and there's a lot of mixed couples here as well, and mixed families, so a lot of these problems don't really exist because you've got that many people from other parts of the world. So my aircon doesn't work and I'm not paying €700 for it, so I'm putting the fan on at the moment, but I feel like I might need a towel in 5 minutes. I've got the window shut to keep the noise down. It's currently 28 degrees out there. But yeah, I find it's a good place for the kids. The kids seem to learn a lot. They seem to have a lot of friends and people they engage with. I find my wife's got lots of friends here from everywhere, and the Ladies of Spain group is a very useful group for meeting new people. And I find the YouTube channels help to introduce people to each other as well, which may have lived within streets of each other and not spoken before, but the channel helps bring people together. Now I do get people want to hide away sometimes, because in the Philippines I do it because there's all sorts of people in the Philippines, to put it lightly. So I'm a bit more insular there, simply because there's some peculiar people out there. Oh, this racing track's really good. This is it Galicias? I don't know if you can see it. It's a go-kart near Guatemala. This is where me and Ubi were last week. Or I think about 4 days ago when I say last week. Obviously it's just, yeah. We went to Elche Safari Park because I haven't been there for 5 years. So we went to Safari Park, then did the go-kart on the way back. That was quite a good little experience. What was I talking about? Babbling on as usual. Yeah, so I think the good thing about here is you can be embedded as much as you want, or minding your own business and keeping out of it, because I do find if you go more urbanisation, you probably find a lot more people won't bother you too much. But even where we are in La Mata, most people, because I think some of it is because nobody knows what any languages anybody speaks, so everyone's a bit wary about speaking to people. So as soon as you start saying hello to people and they start to understand where you're from, you find a lot of the problems just disappear, because you made the effort to actually speak to them. Because I mean, if you look where we are, the president of the block we're in, the president's wife and her husband speak Spanish and French. Couples changed on the bottom, but they spoke Swiss. Irina and Keenan have recently moved in. They speak Russian, Ukrainian, Arabic and English. Obviously we've got Igor next door. Igor speaks, I don't know how many languages, it seems to be almost any. And then we've got lots of friends from pretty much everywhere, and there's a lot of Brits around as well. Although we're not in what I call a Brit town type thing. It's mainly, I'd say it's more cosmopolitan in La Mata. There is a lot of Swedes, Dutch, Northern Europeans, Russians, but I wouldn't say it's predominantly Brits. But if you head into places like La Siesta's a bit of a mix of people, but a bit further up there you've got I forgot the name of the place now. Yeah, there's a few places. I mean, I'd say Quesada's probably 50-50. There's probably a lot of Brits there, with a lot of Scandis and Northern Europeans. But La Mata itself seems to be more, I'd say about 40-50% Scandis, Germans, Dutch and whatever, then probably about 30-40% Spanish, then the rest is made up of everybody else, which is a nice mix, to be fair. It's a nice family orientated place. I mean, I don't really hear of any crime in La Mata. I mean, pickpockets market day, but hey ho, I think that's every market day for every town. beyond that, not really too many problems there. I do get the feeling the area is going to start to be developed. I was talking to somebody recently about this. We met down by one of the bars at the beach, and we were talking about a lot of these houses are family owned, generation to generation. But I think the Spanish are starting to get that bug of wanting to travel further afield. So houses are coming up for sale, and I do think the land on the coast, because there's a lack of it, along this developed area, I think the property values will eventually start to go up. I think there's more people that are sort of like myself that work in the UK or wherever, but a lot of the work they do can be done remotely, and because the infrastructure is now caught up here, you got fast roads to the airport, into 2 international airports within a short distance, super fast internet, reliable electrics. I do think there's more opportunity for people, because why wouldn't you want to live under the sun? Because I know myself, when I get off a plane, I feel good. You feel that sun hits you, and you think, I'm home. This feels good. I'm glad. It's welcoming you back. And I head along this road, and I've got the salt. These are not salt lakes, but they're like reservoirs, I suppose, something like that. But this is where they flood them, and then it builds up with the sand, and they take all the salt away. So, and then you get all your flamingos and all that on here. I mean, there's thousands of flamingos on here. I can see just from the other side. But driving along here, it's just, I'm home. And it's, because I couldn't live in this isn't a concrete jungle. This is 5 minutes from my house. I mean, 5 minutes walking distance, I've got the lakes opposite that's full of bird wildlife and other stuff. This is just where you can head up the road, a couple of minutes, and you're into an area where you can just sit and chill out and just enjoy the world around you. What more could you ask for? Well, for me, asking for more is the fact that this is my kids and my wife's life. This is their daily life. This is where they live. Happy family life. No, don't get me wrong, I'm away a lot more than most parents maybe, but then if you calculate how much time the average parent spends with a child during the working week, I'm probably not far off the same. But I will say, when I do have time with my kids, I dedicate a lot of time to my kids. It's my family time. It's what I do everything for. It's not for my own entertainment. But this trip is an important one, which is probably why I've got a couple of conversation pieces, because now that the house is done, in the sense of we've got it set up, mortgage is sorted, construction's nearly finished, so we can move across very, very soon. We're now in the realms of the last big headaches. This took 5 to 6 years to get this moment where everything's come together. Now, don't get me wrong, it's I know I'll go, oh, I could have done that, and I could have done it. Everyone's always great to give their opinions, but ultimately it's took this long simply because of the finances. We've got money, but it's trying to get recognised in Spain. That's been the hard bit, because I'm not a pensioner. I make money online, I make money overseas, I make money in lots of ways that seem a bit peculiar to the Spanish system, because they like pay slips. But obviously my new job, I've been there 2 years, I think as of next month. So it's had that level of commitment to get us to this stage, and obviously we hammer the mortgage. A lot of the financial issues disappear as well, because you've now got leverage. You've got an existing property with no debt on it. So when you buy a second one, it's much easier, because you're a good payer, because you've demonstrated on your first mortgage, but B, you've got something of a physical asset which assists in any future investments. But ultimately, doing this before I'm 50, you speak to a lot of the, I mean, my wife will tell you, a lot of the older generation here, they do say they wish they'd done it earlier. So for me, it's nice to be in the position that we're a homeowner on the coast before I'm 50, and to be completely paid off before I'm 50 with a house that's got everything already done to, you know, for the next 20 years. I'm happy. It leaves a legacy. If I drop dead tomorrow for the wife and the kids, it leaves them, you know, in a very good stand. You know, if that sort of thing happened, I can't really grumble at that point. Because for those that are argumentative on the Brexit side, I pay my way. I overpay into the NHS. I wish I could take my money out of the NHS and invest it on just private healthcare in the UK, or just expand my current healthcare that actually does cover the UK anyway. But it'd be nice to not be paying two. And it's not me being selfish. I think the selfish ones are the ones that bloody feed off this NHS enterprise and don't give money for value. But hey ho, I could grumble about it, but you know what? I'm happy. Because generally I don't use any of the healthcare. Don't want to use the healthcare. Like with my back injury, I didn't go running to the NHS. I headed home to Spain and used my private healthcare before somebody grumbles, oh well, they're there if you need them. I've got two dead parents that will confirm that the NHS didn't go above and beyond. For me, yeah, move off that because it's a negative one that does bug me a bit. But ultimately, we're self-sufficient here. We pay our own way, got our own insurance, pay all our own bills, and we're good investors in Spain. And the funny thing is, I see some of this stuff about people, about Brits in Spain, and the tabloids feed too much negative stuff about Spain. Spain is not on its knees because Brits haven't gone to Benidorm. What we've, I mean, I've seen this myself in La Mata. There is a lot of people here on holiday from other parts of Europe and elsewhere in the world, along with a lot of Spaniards that normally don't come, because there's been a big promotion, the same as it is in the UK, promoting coming on holiday internally, which has had a positive result. I mean, La Mata is full. I mean, this time of year it's starting to fizzle away and get quiet. Not this year. The beach is as if it's like summer. It's all yeah, it's all a bit different. So I do wish they would stop trying to stoke fires with people. That's the only thing I will say. I don't really find the Spanish are doing it. I do find it from the British side. There's too much of it, the politicians and media trying to create problems. Because for me, Spain's there, you know, take it or leave it. If you want to live here, fine. Don't want to live here, fine. But grumbling about it, what's that about? You know, it's like the end of the world type thing with the Brexit. Oh yeah, I was in the Philippines for 8 years prior to here, and that's, I'll tell you what, it's a bit more difficult there when you got to go with the immigration every 2 months. And then they fine you if you don't turn up. You get, I mean, they will fine you heavily. They'll deport you after you pay your fines as well if you build them up. And you can't work for most of the jobs because there actually is legislation around what jobs are available to foreigners. But ultimately, when you do a comparison between that and Spain, coming here to retire is an absolute double. I think people just need to assess it without too much media interference, because it's all doable. The world hasn't changed that much in that time. It's changed a little bit. and they are still trying to work things out, and we do get the media trying to blame the other side rather than the fact that a lot of this stuff wasn't pre-thought. I mean, I look at this fuel crisis in the UK, and I've had loads of people say, don't come back to the UK, the weather's bad, the fuel crisis. I'm like, I don't get the fuel crisis. That didn't happen instantly. You know, the fuel crises are something you can see. You can see fuel dropping away, supply and demand. What's caused it is obviously panic buying, but who started the panic buying? Because for me, I wish I'd bought shares. Because obviously it was a good time to be buying, because it all seemed premeditated and well organised. But ultimately, does it affect day-to-day life too much? Me, first thoughts is, I think I'll get an electric assisted bike when I go back, not a full electric bike, because I'm going to start doing more exercise. But I look at it from a positive side. It's like, okay, I do use the car too much, so yeah, all right, I'll start cycling. Not worried about it. No, it's not the same for everybody, don't get me wrong. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive halfway across the UK to have meetings and stuff, because people like to see the people face to face. Thankfully, that's one of the positives that have come out of COVID, that people are using things like Teams more, because trying to get a business to change in that direction was absolutely painful for me. Really, really was. I spent years trying to get them to move. Yeah, but we like to see people in the office. We like to. But why? You live 2 miles from here. I spend 5 hours on the train. Yes, but I hear what you're saying, but I really just do not care. So for me, that's a positive, and that's the way I look at things. What's come out of it on the positive? I think people have valued families more, or less, depending how long you spent together. People have valued time more, because I think people have had to find stuff to keep themselves occupied, because you might want to go down the pub every night and not been able to, so you found other stuff to do, which may involve a bit of fitness, may involve spending time talking to family, may involve learning to cook or something else. I think there has been some positives. Don't get me wrong, there's a massive stack of negatives, but I'm trying not to touch those. Like I said, I'm trying to keep everything positive, not because hey, everything's great, everything's fantastic, but the fact is there is too much doom and gloom everywhere. Let's try and keep away from it. Some of you may be asking what car I'm looking at to replace this one. When I was with a company called Kia, I had a top of the range Suzuki Vitara that I liked. So I just ordered a company car because I'm not too fussed on it. I'm not Mr. Bling. But the car they sent me was a Suzuki Vitara with every extra on it, and it was nice. A little bit bulky, but to be fair, it's a family car. I prefer that. I mean, it's like in the Philippines. I used to have the Pajero, because then if you're in a collision or something, it'll hold its ground. So I'm looking at Vitara. I think it's going to be probably 24,000. But to be fair, the car's now cleared its smoke, as you can probably hear. It's not going bing 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 anymore. But I've still got the code 84 come on, which I believe is a service light, and it looks like the DPF's clogged, which I'm not changing again, because that costs me a bloody fortune every time I do that, and I'm not doing enough mileage. I mean, it'd be cheaper driving in taxis than repairing this thing. So we'll see. I mean, it'll last until it breaks down next time, and then I think at that point we'll be saying goodbye to it. But I've got plenty of time. I'm back to the UK for at least a month, because one of the things I'm doing when I go back is applying for my new passport. So Gonna go and get the second jab because I've got to drop in because I had a right fiasco trying to get a second jab without the first jab. Sorry, because I wouldn't have a first jab because I already had the first jab. But they're going, yeah, but your appointment's 8 weeks after, but I've already had the first jab, I need the second. Well, when did you have that? A few months ago. So why didn't you have the second jab? Because I was in Spain. Okay, well, you need to book an appointment. Yeah, but you have to book a first and a second appointment. You can't just book a first appointment, a second appointment. Okay, so can you do that? I said no, because I'll have to wait 2 months for the second jab. I want the second jab, but otherwise next time the appointment's available I'll probably be in Spain again. Computer doesn't compute. So I found a drop-in centre now, so I can drop in on once I come out of my quarantine period and get that done. So I've got two tasks to do as soon as I arrive in the UK. Tonight I will be doing my passport photo and sorting the drop-in centre. Obviously I can't go to the drop-in centre while in quarantine. Or should I do that? Really confuse things. So now we're just coming up to Alicante Airport. I've got to admit, I always feel a bit weird leaving, because even before, when I used to do it with the Philippines, it was worse because I could be gone a year. Here, it's a little bit different because we're talking a month to 6 weeks. Well, let's just say a maximum of 2 months, which is a little bit easier because obviously in the UK I don't spend a lot of money because there's nothing to spend it on, especially where I am in Northampton. So everything sort of gets banked and getting used on the house. But now the house is getting nearly finished. That's why we're sort of looking at, we'll get a new car, get a new family car, and then we've got a decent car, we can start going around Spain. Because obviously we do travel around Spain, but trying to get April to learn to drive. Because it would be nice to actually have 2 drivers in the house. Because then when I could sort of get off the plane here, April's here with the kids, the bags in the back. She could do the first set of driving down to say Granada, and then pull over while I have a nap, pull over, then I swap and do the second set so that it's shared. So yeah, here we are at Alicante. So we're going to head down to Euro Parking, which is my parking company. I've used them since they opened. Never had any issues with them. I'm just thinking, remember your mask. Just be careful with the masks, by the way, because I have one that was actually given to me by the company I work for, which bizarre, they look after hospitals in Spain. They're quite a big company. I won't mention their names because they get in trouble. But when I flew back from Barcelona, they're going, oh, you can't have one of them, it must be a medical mask. And I'm like, well, funny enough, this one's good enough for you, for the entire medical industry here, but hey ho. April had her spares in her bag, because it's like, even here, she's left me a stack of masks. Not a fan of wearing them at all. I don't think they actually work that well. But the way I look at this type of stuff is the airport is a business. The business is dictating what I should and shouldn't do, and I think that's within reason if they deem it necessary. So it doesn't matter what I agree or disagree, reality is I'm respecting somebody else's business. So yeah, it's the same with it. I mean, I don't agree with the COVID jabs. I don't think they're working, and some of the reports that are coming back now are starting to show that a lot of people's immune systems are going back to as if they've never had the jab, which sort of defeats the object in many ways. But we'll see. I mean, they get stuck with a bloody booster every year, but I'm hoping it all gets downgraded to similar like the flu and the cold, where if you want a jab, have it, and it's advised by the government, but if you don't have it, don't worry about it. That's where I'd like to be with that. eco parking. There's lots of parking places out the back here, by the way. They all do it, similar prices. There's nothing really, there ain't much between them. Because this car is this car, I'm not getting one with a canopy over it to protect it. The roof on this is already blistered. It's been parked outside the house for a few months. Over here, just gonna see how many people park here. I think some of these are rentals as well though. Just gonna go in and pay my bill, dump the car. Alright, nice chatting guys, and I'll catch you later. I'll probably upload this on the airport, use all my minutes.